Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I've been doing a bit of a gay movie marathon, and at some point it was becoming too jarring going backwards and forwards between old gay movies and new gay movies because the difference in focus of the films, so many older films and 90s films are all about HIV, living with HIV, surviving HIV, whereas newer films are more just about being gay, finding love, and it is quite a jarring thing to go backwards and forwards. So I decided to just work out the rest of the films chronologically and just watch them from the oldest to the newest and sort of move through that. And I watched a film called Longtime Companion, which is the oldest gay film I actually have. I think it was made in 1993. I think I should have had that prepared. But I did have this open on Wikipedia, but it's decided to shut down and the internet's dropped out, of course. But the film basically covers the whole decade of the 80s. They do basically a year. Each year they do like, it's not necessarily a scene, but like 10 or 15 minutes of the lives of these people in each year. So it starts off in 81, and then you get like March 81, and then it'll go to April 82, and then like October 83, and it just goes through these people's lives, and it shows just people before. Literally, the first scene is people taking the article about this new gay cancer that's been discovered and reading it out and just the reactions to that. And then the next year we have people starting to get sick, and then the next year we have people dying, the next year we have people living with it and taking care of people who are dying from it. And it just moves through the whole decade and ends in 89. And it ends quite strangely where they do a play, a group of people do a play called Living with AIDS, and the whole sort of cast is there because they're all involved in the fundraising and supporting people with HIV. Debbie Mazar is there, oddly enough, in the audience, uncredited. I figured, well, she must have been doing the makeup for the film and they just used her as an extra, because often these smaller films, they're just grabbing anyone to fill a seat to make it look like they've got a big cast. But she wasn't in the makeup department either way, so that was odd. But these people are walking along the beach. They're about to do a protest the next day. They're talking about that. And then they're just saying, I can't wait till this is over. Can you imagine what it's going to be like the day this is over? And should I call it a fag hag? That's a compliment. The fag hag is like, because there's one woman in the whole cast, of course, who's there the whole time. They don't cover the lesbians and their involvement in the whole thing, which Rosie O'Donnell pointed out recently, and I had to point out to her that she was saying, I want to see that film. And I said, well, that film's already been made. When they did In Our Blood, they show how the lesbians did step in and were very critical to coordinating, organising the whole HIV movement and taking care of all their gay friends and all that. So I said to her, that film's already been made. It was done in Australia. It's called In Our Blood. And she's like, oh, I'll have to watch that. So that's the only film that really addressed that. The lesbians get pretty much ignored in this whole thing. And we have this one random female friend who basically says it'd be like when the war ends, which I went through that whole story just to say that she says that. But then they're sort of walking, and then all of a sudden, because it's kind of a cold day on the beach, then it sort of lights up. You see all these people coming down this boardwalk, running towards them all, and it's like a big party. I thought, are these people, are they organising the event? They're all going to meet and go to do a protest together or something. And then you realise it's a combination of all the people who've, just people celebrating AIDS being over and being able to live again. And because they sort of say, hi, can you even remember a time before this, before we were afraid of everything and fighting for everything? And there's also people who have died, who have come back. So it's just like imagining what it would be like. And then they all sort of disappear and they keep walking up the boardwalk, and that's the end of the film. Dermot Mulroney is in the film playing a little twink. He dies early on, and he's the one who actually comes back and hugs the guy who... he introduced him to the guy he ends up with. But I guess they were friends the whole time and all that. But there's a few very sad scenes. There's a writer for a soap opera, and one of the guys acts in it, and he turns out being one of the first gay characters. So it's not historical. It's fiction within the film, but it did happen in the 80s, where they had like the first gay character on a soap opera and the first gay kiss and all that, and then the actor kind of gets canned because they know he's gay and he has AIDS and that. And they do show that the writer is dying of it, and the partner is writing his scripts for a while and trying to get him through it, but his mind is gone. he nurses him and tells him, to let go and that he can go. And there's that scene, which is not fun to watch, but he wasn't aggressive about it, but he was just, because he wasn't really there, but he was still trying to communicate to him to, that he can let go, like he doesn't need to hold on, like there's nothing to hold on for. It was pretty sad. But the rest of the film shows people sort of getting through it and living with it, and this is interesting to see the portrayal of that era again, because it's not something that got a lot of attention. I kind of feel like the gay film scene didn't really pick up until Priscilla made money in 94, and then so there were a lot of sort of mid-90s to late 90s gay films, but before that I don't feel like there were a lot. And I'm still trying to find I really wanted to give the year for this film, but my phone has just decided to lose the last search, so I'm just going to put in now. Longtime Companion, Wikipedia. 1989, went from 81 to 89. What year was it made? It was a $3 million budget. It made $4 million at the box office, so it did get a release. It doesn't say what year. See, that's probably why I didn't know what year it was, because it doesn't say it anywhere. Okay, I'm just going to let that go because I don't have time to search anywhere else in this. But I thought it was made in 1993. So I looked at the credits, I think, to work out what year some of these films were made, and I seem to remember it being 93 because that was the earliest one that I could find. No one was making gay films in the 80s. There might have been a few little independent ones. I think that's one of the reasons why Cruising got so much attention, because it was one of the first, I think it was the first mainstream Hollywood film to feature gay characters in a gay storyline on some degree, or the gay culture, and they definitely deal with the gay subculture of the S&M scene and all that, which is fascinating to see. They went into real clubs and filmed real people and everything at the time and everything. Got a lot of attention, but aside from that, there wasn't anything. There was a bit of a jump to the 90s, and then everything was about living with AIDS, and then we started to get the drag queen culture and just more of gay culture without the tragedy of AIDS, and now we seem to just be having nice gay films where gay people get to just fall in love and not have to worry about dying. So I'm glad that I'm going to be doing everything chronologically and moving through and going into that. And I've kind of watched all the retro films that are made recently but deal with the 80s, like Riot and In Their Blood and what's the Something Heart. There was the one with Julia Roberts about HIV. You can see the artwork and the poster, but I can't remember the name. But yep. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. This was a great film. Had no idea what it was about before I watched it. Had no idea who was in it. And yeah, it was good. These soap opera scenes were interesting and funny, and just getting a bit of an idea of what the culture was before AIDS and during AIDS is interesting, because I came after that era where the medications had just started to come out and people were not seeing it as a death sentence, but it's something to avoid or manage and eventually avoid. And we still don't have a cure, but we are able to, people have it, are able to reasonably, healthily, safely live with it now with the medications, although I think long term there are still some issues with that. But ultimately, we survived, and as a culture we have moved on, but now we are starting to look back, and there's a little bit of resentment to particularly how America dealt with this. Australia did a very good job of dealing with the AIDS crisis. America did not. They just went in denial. They just indulged in homophobia and otherism and really held back any movement with it until it started to seriously affect, straight people and children and women, basically. That's when they started to actually treat it as an actual problem, and it took way too long. And it is seen on some level as an attempted genocide against the gay community, and a lot of elements of that are starting to come out now in a lot of the stories and research and people's stories and the videos and theatrical performances and films that actually, not a lot of people have money for films, but a lot of people are doing smaller films and books and stuff like that, and a lot of the things that we weren't aware of are starting to come out now, which is why it's sort of surprising to me that this film got made and sort of showed as much as it did in the early 90s, because I I think a lot of us were still oblivious, those who, avoided that era, to what had just happened and what the generation before us had just gone through. So it's kind of fascinating to watch it in in this context now. But yeah, I'm still talking. It's supposed to be a 5-minute review. All my reviews are supposed to be 5 minutes and short things, but I always end up waffling on because I find these things interesting and I like talking about them. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this film if you've seen it. If you haven't, see it. It's good. And yeah, I'm glad I'm going through this history of gay films and that. There's a lot to learn.